All right, let's give this a go. So, about 6 months ago, I got let go from my job, and it kind of sucked. And since then, I've been spending my time every day finding new job postings and applying to jobs. But all I really get is silence. And the whole process has kind of left me thinking, like, what am I really doing? Because I think back to the job that let me go, and it wasn't really a dream job of mine. Like, it paid well, and I appreciated that. That's honestly probably why I stayed there for 7 years. But in the grand scheme of things, I felt like I wasn't really achieving anything for me. And as an artist, finding something that you care deeply about is important. And so, as I'm sitting here as an unemployed person, I made the realization that maybe this is a sign from the universe that I shouldn't be giving my time away to companies and jobs that I don't even really care about or are that passionate about. Maybe I need to be making all the things that I've been putting off for years and years and years, the things that I've always wanted to make, and see if something can come from that. And so that's kind of what I've been focusing on. That's not to say that it's not tough. Being unemployed sucks. But I have achieved this like mental clarity, this like inner peacefulness that I didn't have when I was working a 9 to 5 with like 10 to 15 hours of meetings every week, writing Jira tickets or planning projects or thinking up marketing strategies. Since I've started focusing on kind of just art and the projects that I enjoy doing and that I get really excited about, a lot of the stresses that I had kind of just melted away. And for the first time, I realized that maybe the monetary gain, maybe the money that you get from doing these jobs isn't necessarily worth the stress. Because if I can get paid less but feel the way I feel right now, maybe that's all I really wanted in the first place. And so here I am making a YouTube video, starting a YouTube channel. It's something I've always kind of really wanted to do, just because I watch a lot of art talk videos on YouTube and I see really inspirational people. And I think that sometimes there are things that I've learned over the years that might be beneficial to people as well. So here we are. I thought that this first video could be kind of like a dual purpose introduction to myself, but also kind of going over what are the things that I'm doing right now in my abundance of free time. So I guess here are the 3 main things that I'm doing right now to help me finally pursue my passion. The first one is picking a focus. Now, I don't know about you, but I have a lot of things that I'm really interested in. And over the years, I've done a lot of things. I've explored a lot of different avenues, from 3D art to animation to trade show booths, designing gear for professional wrestlers, game design, graphic design. Even back in the day, I did a lot of stuff right here on YouTube. But because I never stayed on like one single path, I never really got that far in any one of those directions. And so I knew that if I want to try and make something work in the long run, if I'm thinking about this seriously as like a potential, I need to make a living doing this sort of thing, I need to pick one direction and kind of stick with it. And when I was trying to figure out exactly like what that would be, because like I went to school for like video games, and I've been working professionally as a 3D artist for a long time. So you would think that like one of those would be the thing. But then I started to think back to when I was like really small. When I was a kid, I would draw comics all the time. Like, I didn't even necessarily enjoy reading comics. Like, I wasn't a huge comic book fan, but I loved the idea of telling a story through pictures. And so I would write stories and I would draw comics and come up with characters, and I loved sharing it with people. And I would like take it over to a neighbor's house or take it to a guitar lesson to show my guitar teacher. As I got older, I drew comics for the school newspaper, and I made friends with kids whose parents had office printers so that I could make trade paperbacks. And remembering all of those things really kind of solidified it in my mind that the thing that I enjoy most is writing and illustrating. So that's kind of what I'm doing. If you're struggling to come up with what that one thing is for you, like if you are someone that is interested in lots of different things, I think about, like, in my head, if part of the equation is money, like if I think, ooh, I can make a bunch of money with this, I kind of disqualify it from that, just because that speaks more to the money side than it does like the passion side. But something else that I like to think about is, like, if you won the lottery, like, would you still do art? And if the answer is yes, well, what is it that you would make? Chances are whatever that answer is probably the right path. So if you're struggling with that, that might be something that you can think about. The second thing I'm doing is I'm trying to make more connections. Now, I am a very introverted person. I'm not even really comfortable talking to the camera right now because I literally have panic attacks when I talk in front of people. But one thing that I've learned is the importance of making connections, because you can have the greatest art portfolio of all time, but if you don't have connections with people, if you don't have a network, you'll be hard pressed to get the time of day from anyone. You can break your back making the greatest portfolio of all time, and you might be outshined by somebody who just happens to be talking to the right person at the right time. Not to say that having a great portfolio isn't important. Like, it definitely is. It's definitely part of the equation. But if that's all that you're focused on, is getting better at the technical skills and making the greatest portfolio, I would wager to say you're missing half the battle. When I think back to all of the full-time jobs that I've had, the majority of them came from connections that I made in college, either classmates or roommates that put in a word for me. And my portfolio helped in those instances, like once I actually got the interview. But had I not had those connections, I don't know if I would have even got to sit down and talk with anybody. Two of my biggest freelance clients right now, one is an old coworker of mine, and the other, they came directly from an acquaintance that I made on a comic Discord server. Like, you never know what conversations are going to lead to future opportunities. And if you don't ever talk to anybody, then the opportunity pool is going to be even smaller. The last thing I'm doing is I'm not waiting anymore. I'm not waiting for permission to get started. I'm just going to start. And I kind of even did this before I got laid off. I knew that someday, in some way, I wanted to pursue my art on my own. And so I did it on the side for years, actually. And I haven't made a huge impact. I don't have like a large audience or anything like that, but there is something there. Like, I have met a handful of people that I really enjoy talking to, and building that sort of like momentum, even if it's small, is really motivational. So I would just say that to anyone who is thinking about doing some sort of full-time art career or side hustle or something like that, don't wait. Just start it now, even if it's small. I'm not saying quit your job or anything, but if you can start a little bit of foundation, if God forbid you do get laid off or fired or something happens, you have that little bit to kind of land on. And then you can start cultivating it from there. You can start growing it from wherever you left off. like I said, I've been posting art for a while, but it really wasn't until I got laid off that I was able to really kind of put my foot on the accelerator. I put together a illustration portfolio and started reaching out to literary agents to try and get representation in that area. But I turned to a comic that I have been wanting to do for years and just never had the time and kept putting off and putting off. And now I'm 50 pages into it that I'm releasing it slowly as a webcomic online. And I'm really excited about it. But then I'm also excited for all the other potential projects that I have going on or coming up. And I don't think that I would have those opportunities if I hadn't have gotten started. So I definitely am not where I need to be yet, but I am confident and I'm going to continue working. I definitely want to make more videos like this, but also kind of showing a breakdown of my process or talking about some of the lore behind the stories that I'm putting together. But also really, I just kind of want to share some of the stuff that I have learned working full-time as an artist over the years, especially in like a corporate or a business setting. Maybe some things that I don't really see that often mentioned in other art talk videos. I think a lot of art talk videos really cater towards a younger student audience who is looking for jobs in like the main AAA industry, whether it's like animation or video games or whatnot. I took a bit of a different path in life, in the career space, where I'm using all of those same skills, but I'm in industries that aren't that well known, doing things for marketing projects or trade shows and things like that. Things that people that are going into the game industry or the animation industry wouldn't necessarily think about, but jobs that do exist and are out there that pay pretty decently and are a lot more stable than the volatile industries of the entertainment world. So if any of that sounds interesting to you as well, let me know in the comments and I can make some videos kind of talking about that, talking about my path and maybe some places to look. If you love doing all the art and the animation stuff, but maybe don't want the volatility of like the AAA mainstream entertainment business. But anyway, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'm going to put a link to the comic that I'm working on down below. If you're interested, you can check that out. And thanks again. It really means a lot. I appreciate it, and I'll talk to you later.